Hey guys, it's me, John Avenger, once again, and this is my next review for the box office bust month. This is a 1995 film from way back in the day, an American post-apocalyptic science fiction film directed by Rachel Talalay. Yes, but it really wasn't her vision, so I'll get to that. And written by Teddy Sarafian, based on a British comic series. So we already know we're in trouble. Of the same name, created by Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin. The film stars Laurie Petty, Naomi Watts, Ice-T, and Malcolm McDowell. Set in a drought-ravaged Australia, even though they're like half of the cast is an Australian, years after a catastrophic impact event, it follows the anti-hero Tank Girl as she, Jet Girl, and genetically modified super soldiers called the Rippers fight Walter and Power, an oppressive corporation led by Kesley, which is played by Malcolm McDowell. And it is in the future. The odds of survival are 1,000 to 1. That's just the way she likes it. Tank Girl. Boy, I'm glad that this tanked. Did it deserve to tank? Oh, yeah, definitely. Because this movie was weird. It was sloppy, and I could see why it was a box office bomb, besides the fact that it's based on a comic I never heard of. And it was the 90s. Comic book movies were not as prominent back then as they are now. But this movie, like I said, it has some good moments in it. It's just it was a mess of a film because the studio interfered, just like in Suicide Squad, just like in Spider-Man 3, where they have to put their agendas in there to make the movie what they want and not what the director's vision really is. That's what I'm getting tired of. Even back in '95, they did that. I mean, they did that with Batman Forever, but it worked because it was still successful, and the lighter tone helped kids go see it. It was not as violent as Batman and Batman Returns. But with this movie, it did not work. This movie doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't want to be a goofy comedy or a serious post-apocalyptic drama. It doesn't know. It tries to do both, and it doesn't work. The film's budget, $25 million. It needed a little bit more money, not for the effects, but for some of the spectacle, and also for uh, other things like costume design. A lot of it is just lazy stuff that I've seen in other films, and the movie made $6 million in total. That's a bomb. So it's perfectly natural to put this on my list. Catherine Hardwicke did the costume design, right? Wait, hold on. She did the production design, which 13 those, yeah, she's the same woman that directed Twilight. This is not Twilight, but mind you, it's an R-rated movie with some nudity. There's a lot of nudity in the film, especially in the beginning and in the middle. And no, Laurie Petty doesn't show anything because she's like Harley Quinn in a post-apocalyptic world, and it's supposed to be the year 2033, and yet it looks like the 80s or the early 90s because again they didn't have flying cars or the internet or anything like that. It's a bit dated. The movie is very dated. There's no dated references or anything, but mind you, it's a dated movie. It looks like a dated film. And financially unsuccessful. It deserved that because the studio interfered, and it's not the movie that Rachel Talalay wanted to make. She was disappointed, and it received mixed reviews. Yeah, I'm giving this a mixed review because I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. I just thought it was very middle of the road. Martin and Hewlett had also spoken negatively about their experiences creating the film, and Talalay blamed some of the film's negative reception on studio edits. I'm like, of course it did, which that she had no control of. Give the director the vision that they want to put on screen. Don't interfere. It ruins the freaking movie. Ask Fantastic Four 2015. Despite the box office failure, it's got a cult following. It's not for me though. I'm not part of that cult. I was a one watch. I watched it on Tubi for free, and that was it. And has been noted for its feminist themes. Yeah, the feminist themes are a bit on the nose. Laurie Petty's very good in the film. I like her. Her character of Tank Girl does a lot of stuff. She's kooky and she's weird and wild, but she's not Harley Quinn wild. Especially in the last DCU films that they did with Harley Quinn. That was way more feminist and on the nose. Here I'm like, yeah, it is what it is, guys. I never read the comics. One of my pet peeves in the movie is that it goes from live action to animation out of nowhere. I'm like, you're not Spider-Verse. You don't need to be throwing a comic book panel in my face every 20 minutes. It just feels really, really weird, and it just comes out of nowhere. It's trying to be artsy, but it fails because if this wasn't when Spider Verse came out. It did something different. It made it all animated. There's no live action in the first film. Here, it just throws it in your face, and I'm like, this isn't telling the story. This is just padding. And the movie's not very long. It's about an hour and 44 minutes. That's with the end credits. Without it, it's like 138. So it's not over 2 hours long. Some of the action sequences were fine. I like some of the makeup effects. Stan Winston's effects on the Rippers. Uh, I like the I like the look of the film. For even though it needed a bigger budget. I mean, there's not a lot of CG in the film. That's a huge plus because usually comic book movies just throw so much CG at you. It looks like a video game cutscene. This doesn't. It's very low budget. Uh, but there's things like I said, that I was not a fan of. Naomi Watts, she's terrible in the movie. She did not need to be there. They make her the most boring, nerdy, shy character in the movie. And then at the end, this guy's like, "Oh fuck me," and then she's like, "I told you, I don't want to." And again, why? What is it with these feminist one-liners? It doesn't work. It feels forced. It did not help me. And she's such a nothing character you could blink on and you miss it. There's no strong guys in this movie. Malcolm McDowell, he's just a typical villain like he is in everything. Ice-T, he doesn't show up until the hour mark. So if you're looking for Ice-T in the film, he doesn't show up until like halfway through the movie. Great makeup effects, but here's the kicker. Yeah, I'm going to spoil it. They all look like kangaroos. What do freaking super soldier kangaroos have to do with a freaking post-apocalyptic movie about a girl in a tank? That makes no freaking sense. That would have been like if the ending of Dune Part 2, instead of riding a giant worm, a freaking kangaroo pops out of the ground. Or a gopher or something. It would be weird, wouldn't it? It'd be like the David Lynch version where they had them milking a cat. That didn't make any freaking sense. Here it's even worse. A cult following. This movie was gonna. The title was a cult following. Name. And reboot it, yeah, I would mind a reboot of this because you can't do any worse than what this did. If you let the studio, if you leave them out of it and just let them distribute the film and not freaking interfere with it, and you give Tank Girl to an actress that deserves it, like a Catherine Newton or something, or I would say Caitlin Deaver, but she's not a blonde, or even like a Jessica Roth or something, it could work. This would be a great Netflix series. You know how that Borderlands movie kind of looks like this, but it's a bigger budget? Do like that. But have a sense of humor. Have something that... I didn't laugh once in the movie. It's supposed to be a comedy in some parts. I didn't laugh at the comedy. I thought the jokes were very dated and just mundane and just like they fell on their faces. And also there was going to be a reported reboot with Margot Robbie's production company, but it got pushed because of COVID. I would say give this another shot. If you can reboot Dread and make that better, even though it didn't do money, it didn't make money at the box office. It could still be done. The soundtrack was all right, but that musical number would not. Yes, this movie has a musical number, like it's a Barbie movie. It didn't need a musical number. This is not the kind of movie to have a musical number in. It really comes out of nowhere. It's like, what's it called? Let's Fall in Love. Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, Let's Do It, Let's Fall in Love by Joan Jett. It could have been cut from the movie completely. And it was just really, really strange. I felt like I was watching a Broadway musical. And, you know, and it says here the issue of whether cult films purported to be feminist were truly feminist or partly the effect of the performance of feminist attitudes in its reception. I'm like, it's just not for me. It's not. I'm a man. I like to see beautiful women kicking ass, and it's fine if they're strong. But don't try to make the guys weak in the movie. I mean, the kangaroo guys look great. I mean, but they belong in another movie. This isn't Warriors of Virtue. This is freaking Tank Girl. What does this have to do with that? It makes no freaking sense. It comes out of nowhere, and they show up near the end in the third act. Where are the guys in the beginning? Oh, yeah, Tank Girl has a boyfriend, and he's barely in the movie. He strips down to her, and she's joking with him. I'm like, again, why are you doing this to us guys? What did we do to you? And again, I'm not going to blame the director. I'm going to blame the writers. Because they never wrote a thing in their lives. One of these writers went on to do... let me see. One of them wrote the comics and is doing the reboot. But another writer wrote some other things. Let me see. Teddy Serafin wrote Terminator 3. That's a way better movie than this. It's more coherent. And he also wrote the Possession of Michael King. I've never heard of that. Altergeist, I never heard of that. But Terminator 3 is where he peaked. Most of these writers are not good writers. They're comic book writers and not feature film writers. Alan Martin only wrote this. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was expecting. Jamie Hewlett. In England, of course. Yeah, they did Cloverfield, which is a good movie. Cloverfield's a good movie. It wrote the soundtrack to Cloverfield. And this director, this person, this lady that wrote this movie wrote a bunch of freaking music videos for Gorillaz. This is not a music video. That's what it felt like. The scenes with the animation, where the comic book panels come to life. I'm like, that would be cool if this was an animated film like Spider-Verse. But it's not. And it takes me out of the movie. It feels like a music video from the 90s, and it took me out. I was not expecting Shakespeare from a movie called Tank Girl, but you have to put more effort into this. It's just a very mid-level movie because you have Lori Petty giving it her all. I give her all the credit because she's the only reason I didn't shut it off. Ice-T is good, and even the guy from The Mask is one of the kangaroos. The makeup effects look great, but they don't do anything. There's a scene, literally, they say they're going to pray, and they don't pray. They start dancing in a circle like Native Americans, and it just... What? There's a lot of what the fuck moments in this movie. It is just strange, and I don't know what they were thinking. They were high on something. This is like if you see Mad Max Fury Road on acid, and you are on Quaaludes as well, because I don't know what they were thinking. And the film gets dull at times when after the beginning of the movie, there's like a huge portion of the movie that is just wandering off, and nothing happens. And I'm like, wow, it's no wonder this movie was a flop. I can see why. You didn't even try to make it interesting. I wanted to like this film. I thought it would be like a cult film that I would enjoy, like the Mario Brothers movie from '93, or the Evil Dead films, or even Buckaroo Banzai, or even the freaking Fifth Element. But it's just too strange. And the fight scenes are not anything great. I mean, some of the action with the guns are cool, but it could have been better. Some of the script is awful. Like, one of the guys is a dumbass, so he says things wrong and out loud, and I'm like, yeah, we've seen this in every Disney Channel and Nickelodeon show in the past 20 years. Or freaking Cartoon Network or something. A dumbass character that's going to say things wrong. Again, it's an old trope. It was old back then. Now it's in like half of the things we've seen, and I'm like, what was the point of this movie? I mean, it came out in a crowded summer. In 1995, and I'm like, I don't know who this was supposed to be for. It came out the spring of 1995, March 31st, 1995. And like I said, it's a waste of a good premise. And the little girl, Stacy Lynn Ramsor, she's the little girl that gets kidnapped, that they have to save her, of course, because it's a 90s film. She's just there. Not a horrible actress, but she was just there. It needed more substance. It was just really strange just to be strange. And the studio interference did not help. It did not help at all. And this is why I'm not worried about Furiosa, because Josh could say I hate women. I don't hate women. I like Lori Petty in the movie. She's worth the price of admission. If you can watch this on Tubi and shut your brain off and not bitch about it, it's not a good movie, but it's worth her. She's worth your time. I liked her ever since Free Willy when I was a kid. But this movie's just really strange. And it's mean-spirited at times. There's a scene where they kill a yak. No animals were harmed in the making of the movie. It's just, why did you kill a yak? He didn't do anything to you. It doesn't make any sense. And then, like I said, it's very mean-spirited. They try to shoot at Tank Girl and kick her down and punch her. I'm like, yeah, it's not for me. This weird mess of a movie is not for me. Maybe if I heard the commentary on the Blu-ray, I would, think it's fun, but the movie itself is just mid. If you have a chance to see it, it's worth one watch, but don't buy it. Don't rent it. Just watch it up for free. I wouldn't advise seeing it, paying money to see it, because I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because it's weird, and in the worst possible way. And the poster where she's sticking her tongue out like this, and her face is blue, that's not in the movie. She doesn't have blue face paint on her face at all. She has different outfits and hairstyles, but no blue paint. But again, it is what it is. What it is. It's not a good movie, but it bombed, so at least it got what it deserved. I would like to see a retry. This is something bad that could definitely be made into a better film. It can't be any worse. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Acknowledge me, and if you see this movie, tell me what you think about it. Maybe you like this film. I was just middle of the road. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. It's just right in the middle. It had some things I liked, but it could have been way better, especially back in '95. So, see you guys in the next one.